Well, good morning. I want to express my appreciation for all of you who are demonstrating extraordinary perseverance and dedication by showing up on day 3 to listen to me speak. I'm very moved by that level of commitment. I'd like to thank Chad Gruhl from Metropolitan State in Denver for inviting me to join you here this morning. And I've always been a big advocate of seeking and sharing knowledge, and I know that's what you folks are all about, and I'm going to try and do a little bit of that with you this morning. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've learned as I've pursued different career opportunities and what I've learned preparing for my next challenges. And hopefully some of what I have to say can be useful to you in your work as educators in the food service, hospitality, and related fields. Now, I understand we have some international folks here, so I'm going to give a 30-second summary of what Red Robin is. Red Robin is a restaurant chain here in the United States. We specialize in serving artisan and handcrafted hamburgers and French fries. We have a bar. The average unit's about 5,400 square feet, and we've been around for over 40 years. We are blessed and cursed simultaneously with occupying probably the hottest part of the food service business, which is the better for you or better prepared burger section of the industry. As a matter of fact, I had a dear friend give me a bumper sticker that said, "Honk if you're not opening a better burger restaurant right now." So that is a good summary of where we're at competitively. I had the good fortune and privilege recently to take on the greatest challenge of my professional career, which was the CEO job at Red Robin. Red Robin's been around 40 plus years and is one of the most recognizable brand names here in the United States. We also operate restaurants in Canada. As the leader of 25,000 Red Robin team members, my charge was to strengthen the financial performance of Red Robin, in effect, turn around some very disappointing recent year results, and build a foundation for strong and sustainable growth going forward. I'll be the first to acknowledge that the challenges for us as a company are far from trivial, but I believe we've got a solid team and a great track record, and we're going to get it done. I'll share some details in a moment, but first I'll give you some background about what brought me to Red Robin and tell you a little bit about my development. As long as I can remember, I always wanted to run a business, and I started as a kid. I spent my time with my neighbors, getting them to pay me to mow their lawn in the Chicago summers and shovel their driveways in the Chicago winters. And so that is where I learned the importance of doing what you say you're going to do and how hard it is to get out of bed at 6:30 in the morning in February in Chicago to shovel somebody's lawn. I grew up my dad was an accountant. We lived in a modest home under the flight path of the airplanes at O'Hare Airport. He worked hard. I was the oldest of 8. We never wanted for anything. At the same time, we didn't know what we didn't have. I got my new pair of Chuck Taylor All-Star tennis shoes once a year in August, independently of when they wore out. So usually I could make them last the full 12 months. But thanks to my dad, I learned the value of hard work, and I began practicing that work ethic, as I mentioned, as a young entrepreneur. After several years of doing that, I decided to launch out into the corporate side. And so at 14 years old, I was blessed by being a big kid. I am still blessed by being a big kid. And I leveraged that, plus the very anemic age verification system at the time, to get a job at a fast food burger restaurant at the age of 14. I worked through high school, doing a number of different things after that. I worked at a discount department store and an aluminum fabricator, interestingly enough, who was a consolidator of all the equipment for new McDonald's restaurants. So that was interesting too. My desire to run businesses remained strong in college. I became an independent contractor, started my own business where I sold educational reference books door to door to pay my way through college. I think there are probably some people in this room young enough to not even know what door to door means. Or selling actual educational books. So I don't want to date myself, but I have to smile so I don't have a tear. I did that all through college. I paid my way completely through the University of Illinois, where I studied finance, and then I got 3/4 of the way through Northwestern before I ran out of money, where I studied marketing. The knowledge and experience I gained from college and my MBA got me a shot at working at General Mills in product management. And I was a marketing assistant on one of the teams that helped create the legendary and much beloved Helping Hand from Hamburger Helper, where after all that schooling I learned that cartoon hands always have only a thumb and 3 fingers. Now that I've shared that with you, you can look at Mickey Mouse and confirm that. I worked as assistant project manager on Yoplait yogurt, and I worked on Big G adult cereals. And I was very proud of myself and very full of myself at that point in time. And when I wasn't promoted like I thought I should have been, I jumped ship and went to the most loathed competitor down the street, Pillsbury. And I learned something very important in hindsight, and that is that no matter what the short-term setbacks, think long and hard before you jump ship and make what is a long-term career decision. The good news is that worked out. I moved on to Pillsbury and did just fine. In fact, with each new career opportunity I had, I made a point of gleaning some key piece of learning from every experience, all designed to be in a position to make a difference when I became a leader in the company. I was speaking to a group of young women who work for Red Robin. We're creating a women in leadership program because we just don't have enough great women leading our restaurants and as our multi-unit supervisors. And one of the things that they struggle with is taking a risk, grabbing an opportunity, and going for it. And one of the things I shared with them was that when the mistakes and failures are transformed into learning and positive change, you don't look at challenges anymore as win-lose or success and failure. You look at them as win-learn. And if you can look at your challenges as win-learn, you're going to have a whole new perspective and a whole new sense of risk. So I learned a lot of different things from my jobs. You heard some of the things I did. When I failed to survive my 3rd chairman of the board in 3 years at Universal Studios, I learned that even great strategy, execution, and results cannot hold you over if you're operating in a culture that does not fit your values. At PepsiCo, my lovely wife Lois, who's in the back of the room, I destroyed her career. We moved to Dubai in the Middle East, and you can imagine the career opportunities in Dubai for women in 1985. The best news is that she didn't have to wear a burqa or cover herself in the Arab fashion. But what I learned there was that I was the minority traveling in the Middle East in both skin color and culture. So leveraging and appreciating diversity wasn't optional. It was absolutely critical for me because I was a non-resident alien, and at every airport I went to throughout that part of the world, I stood behind hundreds of nannies from the Philippines and manual laborers from Pakistan and housekeepers from Asia. And I stood in line for a couple hours most of the time. And when I got to the front, it wasn't unusual for the immigration officer to look up and spot me, made me as probably an American, a Brit, or an Australian. He'd smile and look at my blue eyes and close the window, and I got to go to the back of the line for another window again. So believe it or not, even some humility took root in that period of time. At Taco Bell, I learned that if you don't have a detailed knowledge of what's going on the front lines, if you don't understand what's going on in your business in a specific and concrete way, you don't have any street cred. The folks in the restaurants are going to shine you on. You've got to know what's going on, and you have to be an expert for them to trust and follow your lead. And of course, I had a great time at El Pollo Loco in Los Angeles, almost 10 years. I learned 2 very important lessons there. No amount of marketing can fix a broken balance sheet. You can't market your way out of 7 times leverage. And you can't and never take on too much debt with the assumption that times are always going to be good. Secondly, your business will never achieve greatness if you don't have the right people on your team in the right seats on the bus. And that's a direct line from Jim Collins' Good to Great, and I'm a huge fan of Jim's. Finally, in all my professional opportunities, I never shied away from taking risks, as you may have already figured out. In fact, I sought risk out, assignments nobody else wanted, as a way to differentiate myself and drive my learning curve higher and faster. Now, when you do that, as you can already assume, you don't bat 1,000. You make some mistakes. But I harvested the lessons from my failures so I could apply them as learning and important experience going forward. So last summer, when I was approached about taking the CEO job at Red Robin, I was excited. I was excited about this great opportunity. And as I told this group of women in leadership the other day, you know you've got something that's really important when you're real excited and a little bit terrified. That's the nice balance. You know you're on the right edge. Still, after 10 years, it wasn't easy to leave El Pollo Loco. I had a great team, we had a great track record, and I had great experiences there. But before I made my decision to come to Red Robin, I visited the locations around me in Southern California, and there were a number of them, to get a perspective on how the brand was doing. I first got involved with Red Robin in the 80s when my wife Lois and I had young children. Red Robin was a fantastic place to go. I don't know about your experience with kids, but when my wife was home with 2 young toddlers, when we didn't have a babysitter and we went out, a glass of wine was mandatory. It wasn't optional. And then I got to do my time as a dad so she could relax. So we went to Red Robin for that very purpose. They treated the kids great. We got a glass of wine or a beer. We got a great burger and fries. And it was awesome. So I went back and I looked at the restaurants. I ate the food. I talked to the team members. I talked to the general managers. I saw what kind of shape the facilities were in, from landscaping to paint. And I saw that the brand was in pretty good shape. The team members were excited. The buildings were well maintained. The guests appeared to be enjoying their food. And everything looked okay. I then studied the business performance of Red Robin. And it's more than 4 decades of growth, the financial results past and present. It was obvious that in terms of financial performance, Red Robin had hit a real air pocket and had several years of very disappointing financial performance, while many of its competitors somehow were able to manage their way through that dark period successfully. It became clear to me that joining Red Robin would be a big challenge and a huge opportunity. And despite recent periods of weak earnings, this was a brand with a great culture, a talented and passionate team, and outstanding potential. Anybody else get thirsty up here at 5,000 feet? Especially after your big party last night? I knew that by stepping into the leadership role with Red